So this is a video that I kind of waited a little bit to do because I wanted to have all the information and do this segment proper. This is an important video because I did about a month and a half ago, when we were first talking about Masterpiece Starscream and his early teases and everything, I did like a deep dive into the history of that mold, the original mold, and what was done differently throughout the years, and how this is going to open up a whole new can of worms for a lot of people when it comes to Masterpiece collecting, because we know all the secret molds that are going to be coming afterwards in relation to it and all the repaints and everything. So I felt it was important that if I do this segment, to really do this justice and explain what you're getting out of this, considering that it's a big price hike from the old MP-03 Starscream from back in the day, and it's even a big price hike compared to even the MP-11. Now, I'm going to talk about what we're getting, what we're not getting, how is this better, how is this worse, what is there, and if ultimately in the end this is a good investment, a good purchase or not for people. I'm going to talk about what's accurate, what isn't accurate, what's going on here. People are confused about a lot of stuff, and it's my job to kind of make sense of everything here for everybody so they could understand what's going on and if it's worth it ultimately in the end for them to pick them up. If you're a Starscream fan, hey, it's the name, it's par for the course, you're going to pick it up anyways. But I want people to understand what's going on here and essentially what you're getting. And if you're someone who owns those previous ones, whether it be the MP-03 back in the day, which became the Hasbro one, or the MP-11, which is the retooled version, the better version at that time, that you're still get it. You know what you're getting, and if you're getting this one, what you'd be missing essentially. So let's dive into this. So Takara-Tomy, MP Starscream, MP-52. Do we call it 2.0, 3.0? I've always been a little hesitant with that one because, MP-03 was 1.0. MP-11 is 1.5 because it was kind of a retool, if anything. So I don't know. We're just going to call it MP-52 Masterpiece Starscream, and that's that. This guy, the name of the game this time around, and I'm going to really go into it very deeply when we get into the little specifics, this is all about show accuracy. Now, I've always felt Masterpiece has always really been about show accuracy to begin with, but Starscream's Masterpiece lineage was always kind of shaky right from the get-go, and I think that this finally brings it to that final conclusion of show accuracy, fluoro-dairy accuracy, and even the little fiddles and little nods and stuff like that existed in the show, and I'll get into that. So this is available right now as of this recording on Hasbro Pulse's website. You could pick it up, so Americans now have an alternative to pick it up if you don't want to go through third-party distributors or second-party distributors. You can get it directly from Hasbro through Takara. I'll talk about the price afterwards and the pre-orders and all of that, but let's go into the toy first, okay? So what do we get in that robot mode? Like, what are we getting here? It looks great, the robot mode. We'll just talk about the robot mode first of all as a silhouette. It matches the fluoro-dairy design, the proportions, the look. That's what they were going for this time around. I'll go into little details as I go up and down the whole thing, but what do we get with this one? So number one, he has the chest missile gimmick, which was present originally with the old Robot Master toy back in the day. Same thing was present with the MP-03 and MP-11. It's par for the course, nothing different this time around. It's the old chest missile gimmick detail that came from the Season 1 episode Fire on the Mountain. So pretty cool. He comes with an impressive 6 different faces. What's cool about this is the old MP-03 and the old MP-11 and all the repaints related to that mold just had the swappable face. You had either the stoic character's face, Starscream or whoever, Thundercracker, Skywarp, whoever, and then it had a flip face. You would flip it over and it would have a unique facial sculpt to that. So Starscream was smirking, Skywarp was grinning. That was it. You just had one choice or the other, pretty much. This one, a character like Starscream, that was one of the most animated characters in the G1 series, comes with 6 different faces, and it's pretty crazy because it's like it covers every range of emotion, from cowardly to shock to an O face to smirking to a big smile. Everything's there. Like, even like one of the faces are probably the best face for like Death of Starscream when he got killed by Galvatron. Everything is there, so I really appreciate that being there, especially with a character like him that has so many facial sculpts. This is something we've only seen really in the Beast Wars masterpieces, because Beast Wars was so, characteristic and everything like that, emotional. So it's nice to see it in a G1 character that really was known for his over-the-top bombastic nature. He has the null rays. And again, to be more show accurate, the null rays also could be used as guns, which was first seen in More Than Meets the Eye Part 1 by the, I guess it was Skywarp and the extra seekers, if you will. It could be a Starscream misrepaint. I mean, season 1 was filled with tons of those. So is it Starscream? Is it not Starscream? I don't know. But yeah, so the null rays can be used as guns, and they could be used as null rays. So that's a nice little nod, something the original 2 previous masterpieces couldn't do. It has a Megatron in gun mode, and this was available with the original MP-03. It didn't come with the MP-11, but I'm going to get into the gun mode thing when we get to the jet mode, because that goes into the show accuracy stuff afterwards. He comes with a claw and asteroid piece that was a throwback to the episode Cosmic Rust. Now, for people who saw my Twitter yesterday, I was kind of like showing little clips, showing like what Starscream came with and how it relates to episodes in the show, and how the photos that Takara took were really nice. They were like really almost like frame for frame accurate to the show. They were really trying to match those poses. So I really appreciate that kind of cool stuff. So it comes with the claw that he used as kind of a sterile way to remove the asteroid from Megatron's body, which had the cosmic rust. And so you could reenact that 5-second scene, essentially. So you got the asteroid piece and the claw. Speaking of 5-second scene, also, he comes with a drill. Comes from the Season 2 episode, The Core, where Starscream pulled a piece of rock from the side of a cave and drills it to show how weak the rock was. It comes with the drill. It doesn't come with the rock, which I found kind of funny that they would go that far to include the drill. And in the Takara control images, they show him in that exact pose from the animation model. I even show it on my Twitter. But they don't. He's holding nothing, but he's in that same pose where he would normally be holding the rock. Just kind of funny, but yeah, he comes with a drill. Again, those things that I mentioned, the claw, the asteroid piece, and the drill, was not available with the MP-03 and MP-11. He comes with 5 energy parts, or effects parts, essentially. This is a new thing with Transformers. Started really with Siege and Earthrise, and maybe a few before that. Technically, maybe even you could count movie preview. Protoform Optimus Prime had it, but it's kind of a new thing now that's becoming commonplace with Transformers, is effects pieces and stuff that really were common with a lot of SH figure arts and stuff like that, even the Ultraman Ultra Act stuff back in the day. But now it's becoming more common with our masterpieces, and I appreciate that. It adds extra, display element and good for photography and everything like that. He comes with 5 of them, could be used on the null rays, on the thrusters and the blasters, so nice to have that there too. Now I want to get to, just quickly to go, before we get into the jet mode, I want to talk about an engineering thing that kind of caught my eye. And it was that of and this is like such a tongue twister for me to say, the rear wing rudders, blue rear wing rudders. Now, every Starscream toy, it starts all the way back to the very first Starscream toy from 1984. He had the blue rear wing rudders. Man, I'm going to mispronounce this like crazy, so bear with me. That kind of made his, I don't want to say it made his heels, but it made a stabilizer for the robot mode in the back that was just there. The engineering wasn't there to engineer them out. It was just part of the transformation of that old Diaclone toy. And moving forward to other G1-based Starscream toys, whether it be the Robot Master or the Classics ones, it was just par for the course. It was always there. It just stayed on the bottom of the feet. Even when you get to the MP-03 and the MP-11, they were still there on the bottom of the feet. They just chilled out there. Couldn't really get rid of them. The engineering wasn't there for it. But we're talking about show accuracy. When you look at the Fluoro Deary animation model of Starscream, they aren't there. They were engineered out of it in terms of Fluoro Deary and how he streamlined all of his designs, much like how Jazz doesn't have the doors of the Porsche, even though his toy does. It's just not there. So they somehow managed, and if you look at the photo of the back of the robot mode, and we never display our Transformers from their back, but if you look at the back of the robot mode, they managed to engineer those blue rear wing rudders that they actually engineer up and go hide behind the side wings when in robot mode. And it's impressive. You could still see them a little bit because you could see the blue, but it's there, and they managed to get them off of the legs to make a more show-accurate G1 Starscream legs that don't have those blue rudders on them. So pretty cool that they did that. I really appreciate that a lot for that stronger, more emphasis on show accuracy. Now, when we get to the jet mode, first thing I want to bring up, they have the gimmick where the nose cone opens up and it has that little chain gun in there. That was available both in the MP-03 and the MP-11. They kept it here, and it's also available with this MP-52, so nothing lost there. Now, he also has an opening cockpit with extra detail inside that cockpit, but here's the thing. He does not come with a pilot. Now, the MP-03 toy came with a Dr. Arkaville figure, and then after we got out of that MP-03 design and we went to the MP-11, they replaced it with kind of like a generic hologram pilot afterwards, and this would be the same with all the fellow Seeker Jet repaints of this. So he doesn't come with a pilot, this new Masterpiece Starscream. Is it to scale with the previous ones? Can you take your Dr. Arkaville from your MP-03 and put it in the cockpit of this one? We don't know yet. Can you take the hologram pilot from the MP-11 and put it in here? We don't know yet. So that's something that's still to be determined, but all we know thus far is there's a detailed cockpit that's painted very nicely, but no pilot to put in it at the moment, really. So that's one thing to cover right now. He comes with 4 stand pieces to do all kinds of different jet poses and everything like that, or robot mode poses. They actually do this interesting Gearwalker mode from Macross pose, which they actually show as a selling feature, so I find that kind of funny. But one thing I want to mention, this goes back to the Megatron gun mode. Now, with the MP-03 and MP-11, the gun mode Megatron attached under the Starscream, under the nose cone. And that was something that was a throwback to the old episode of SOS Dinobots where he did do that. But here's the thing that I didn't realize until I saw this one. So they show, oh, you could also do that with this Masterpiece Starscream, but he attaches lower. He doesn't attach under the nose cone, but more in the more midsection. And when I saw that, I went, they moved it this time. I wonder. And I went back and I watched SOS Dinobots, the season 1 episode, and it's more accurate this time. Megatron actually attached more lower in the midsection and not under the nose cone. So the gimmick from the MP-03 and the MP-11 was actually less show accurate. This is more show accurate by where he attaches. Now, granted, yes, again, you're probably not going to display it this way, but it's an extra thing to make a note of that he does attach to that area in that way to be more show accurate. So that's cool too. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. Now, the question is, what is missing from this that we got from the old ones? Well, number one, the MP-03, the original one, was designed by Shoji Kawamori of Macross design fame, the legendary Shoji Kawamori, and he was brought in to design MP-03 and oversee it. And he put such a strong emphasis on that jet mode. That's why that first MP-03 Starscream wasn't even Starscream colors. They really wanted to just have this really gorgeous looking jet that from every angle, including underneath, looked really good. And he included with it these little Sidewinder missiles that, while Starscream didn't really use Sidewinder missiles, I know Skywarp did and Thundercracker in the show. There's some really obvious scenes where the missiles that they shoot are Sidewinders. Starscream didn't really use them, but these Sidewinder missiles just were included with the MP-03 and became a staple across that Masterpiece mold, even into the MP-11 incarnation afterwards. Except for little things here and there, they were left out, and I'll get into that in a moment. But so they included these little Sidewinder missiles. If you actually care about those are absent here because they were part of the MP-03. Again, just to go off on a tangent for a second, MP-03 was actually 1/60 scale because, and he kind of also didn't measure up to the other masterpieces was because Kawamori wanted it to be 1/60 scale so that he scales with the other Macross jet toys that he was working on at the time with Bandai. So that's kind of a weird thing going on there too. And that's why MP-03 Starscream really from a scale wise was kind of weird compared to other masterpieces, and they would follow over even with the MP-11 unfortunately. So keep that in mind too, where this one here, they're aiming more to scale it more with the other masterpieces. So that's another thing to note too, that this one leans more on show accuracy. The original was more just Kawamori wanting to have stuff to display in jet mode with the other Macross VF1S, Vertec Valkyries and stuff like that. So that's another thing to note also, to keep in mind with your old masterpiece. Now, what else is also missing? People were surprised that this didn't come with King Starscream accessories. Now, I mean, this thing's already expensive to begin with, and we'll get into the price in a moment, but I mean, if they would have included those King Starscream accessories, who knows what the price would have been afterwards. Now, those King Starscream accessories obviously was the crown, the shoulder pieces, and the cape. That was available with the MP-11. The MP-11 version obviously didn't come with the Sidewinders, didn't come with the Dr. Arkeville, it came with the hologram pilot instead, but it came with those King Starscream accessories. So that's absent with this version. We don't get that. So maybe it's something, might be there, maybe a third-party kit will come down later, or maybe we'll get a perfect edition MP-52 Starscream. So if you really need those King Starscream accessories, maybe wait this one out, and maybe they'll make a second version, who knows. But that's something that is absent here for the time being. So keep that in mind too. Now let's go to the price. So the original MP-03 Starscream, his original MSRP was 7,500 yen. Granted, that was back then. We're talking, 2000, I want to say it was 2006, 2007. That comes to about $75 back then, the way the exchange was. MP-11 Starscream was 9,500 yen, probably attributed to the fact with the King Starscream parts, and it would be the same with the Sunstorm version in Japan. That comes to about, I want to say, $80 to $85. So the price on this one is, according to the Hasbro Pulse website and different sources now, like Big Bad Toy Store, TF Source, and everything, general price $260 to $264.99. Give or take. There's different prices elsewhere, but that's a big jump. And it's a big jump. Granted, I feel that ever since Masterpiece Dinobot from Beast Wars, I think Hasbro and Takara have really, went from this is a high-end line to this is now a Hot Toys collector premium high-end line, where we go from masterpieces being $100, $150 to where most masterpieces are starting at, $190, $200, and then goes up from there. So for a lot of people, that's an expensive thing to bite down on. It really is. $264 is not a lot, to be excited about because of how expensive it is, and considering most of the stuff that I listed. Look, 6 different faces is cool, but you're probably only going to display it with one. Having the chest missiles is cool, but you're probably not going to display it like that. Having the Megatron gun is cool, but you're not going to display it with it. Having the claw accessory and the asteroid piece, the drill, you're probably not going to use all that stuff. So it's a lot of accessories that you probably aren't going to utilize, and the one that you might have utilized, which was the King Starscream stuff, is the stuff that's absent. And when MP-11 had that, it wasn't a $200 item, it wasn't a $150 item. So this is, that's going to be a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. Pre-orders, pretty much they say here, end October 26, 2020. Not available in Quebec, because that's the name of the game where I come from. But that's just how it is. But the point is that for individuals that on Hasbro Pulse right now that are considering pre-ordering, that is an inexpensive price, and it makes me question a little bit of it too. Despite all the incredible engineering and all the praise that I am giving this for show accuracy, I still question the price. That is a lot. It's kind of like how, even though Tigatron is a larger figure than Masterpiece Cheetor, Masterpiece Cheetor was a $70 to $80 item, and Tigatron was far from that. And it's the same thing here where we have two older figures that are basically the same kind of silhouette. Obviously, it's, built from the ground up, different engineering at the end of the day, but we still are able to look at size. And I get a feeling that at the end of the day, they're going to be comparable in size and parts rollout, but there's a lot going on here that I still can't understand a $264 price point. I really can't. And I know some people have no problem paying that. That's cool. But I just feel that I think that's a little overpriced. I think Hasbro and Takara is kind of making up a number rather than making sense of a number. And because it's Starscream especially, considering the fact that he's a popular character, people are going to want to get him. But what's even more crazy is when you think about what's going to come afterwards. Because if you're going to complete your Seeker Jets, are you going to be spending, the same amount every single time? Are we going to get a, Sky Warp or a Thundercracker? And are they going to try to find accessories to include with them to justify up to that $264 price point? Are we going to get like a little camera reflector to include with Thundercracker or something? It's something that I don't know. It's crazy because like if you think about it, just those three Seekers, when you think about it, is going to cost you. It's going to bring you all the way up already to like $750. Not even talking about taxes and everything, it'll get you over $1,000 just for those three Seekers. And then when you're talking about if the Cone Heads get involved, if Acid Storm and Sunstorm get involved, if they try to do the generics, if they start repainting this like crazy, it's going to be a little nuts. And it leans more onto people who bought the Earthrise one and are happy with that one. It's really different markets at that point. I think that what's happening now with Transformers is there really is starting to be a distinct separation in the markets, and that stuff like Earthrise and Siege and the Generation stuff is one market, and the people who collect the masterpieces are a different market. And it's nuts. It's a lot of money. And I just tell people this with a little bit of a asterisk next to it. If you do pick this up, you're going to be compelled, hopefully not, to have to pick up a Thundercracker and Skywarp when those inevitably come from this mold, and it'll be just as expensive. So, crazy stuff. Again, don't want to end it on a downer. Really wanted to look at the positives and the negatives here and compare to the past and everything. I know that I also, again, my first video that I talked about this, again, I went into the deep dive of just the mold changes throughout the years. But this is more just about what you're getting from this, what you're not getting from this, and is it worth it? I've already been going for now, I think over 20 minutes talking about this, but I hope that it helped people understand what's going on here, what there is good, what there is bad, and if you're excited to get it, let me know what you think. Let me know if you're going to buy it. I know I'm going to wait it out. I'm going to wait it out for now. I don't mind with certain characters, and I love Starscream, but that's a lot of money for something that I feel, I already own that character as a masterpiece 4 times now through different versions and variants, that it's like, that's money I could put elsewhere right now in Transformers. $264 in Transformers gets you a lot of different things. And I think I'm going to wait it out right now personally. But let me know if you're excited. Let me know if you're getting it. And if I helped at least a little bit and give you an idea and a direction of where you want to go with this.